So today is day 3 for index card a day, and today's the perfect example of how I kind of go into index card a day. I find myself thinking all of the time when I look at things, what would that look like on an index card? And I've tried some really crazy things in the past, and it's always been fun, and that's what this is all about, is just creating and having fun every day. So, and experimenting, and it's fun to experiment on these little cards. So yesterday my daughter, my 8-year-old, did a project over here on my area, and she had all of her paints on my mat, and before everything dried, I took a piece of deli paper and laid it on the paint, the wet paint, and just kind of gently rolled around with it with my brayer just to get, as much of the paint that I could. So I've got this, which I will be able to use, on a card or my journal or someplace. But then this morning, when I came down, of course, all the paint had dried on my mat. And I took my little card and started scraping it all off and ended up with this pile. And I thought, well, that's really pretty. And then, of course, the next thing that popped in my head was, I wonder if I can put that on a card, and if I do, what will it look like? So I think, there's a couple big pieces in here. And I think I'm gonna, see what will happen when I put this on a card. So I actually found a white index card. So all my other ones are color, since I forgot to buy some index cards for this season of ICAD. But I did find a white index card, and I'm going to go ahead and go over it with a coat of gesso, just because I just like having a layer of gesso on this first. I think it kind of helps beef up the card a little bit so they're not so flimsy, and I've always started with gluing things down as my first step whenever I start doing something creative, and I think I've finally kind of trained my brain to, whenever I get the paintbrush in my hand and I start putting down gesso or I start gluing down collage pieces onto the paper, it's like my brain says, okay, it's time to get creative. So I'm going to put down some gesso, and then I have a box that's just full of paper odds and ends and scraps and whatnots. And for some reason I kept on thinking that I wanted graph paper on this. So I'm going to just kind of lay these on there and then put this on top, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it works or not. I grabbed my little drawer from my little drawer unit with all of my found word that's all organized, and I have a drawer that says ATC, and it's for, ATCs, postcards, ICADs, things like that. And it's just phrases that I found while going through magazines and books that for some reason just seemed like they would be really cool on a card. So like this says to step back in time. There's just a hodgepodge of stuff in here. This says Jules palette, in full bloom. Some of them are more I wish I could find one that's actually from a book. But anyways, so I grabbed this, and I'll flip through this and see what I could find, and we'll just we'll see how this works out. I hope you're enjoying this, and thanks for watching.